Alright, this is part 3 of the VPN setup. We've got these guys running. We've got the firewall configured, we think. We're not going to know for sure that it's configured correctly until we have at least one internal PC, and then we'll try to connect to it. We want to do remote desktop, Windows file sharing, a basic ping, and maybe an FTP server, just to show we can get through the tunnel network to our local network. So over here in VirtualBox, I have these guys working. I'm going to pause them, right-click, pause each one, so I can get my third machine, internal machine installed. And I'm going to do that by doing file import appliance. I'm going to browse to my documents location. I have that import. Uh-oh, where did I put that? I forget where I put it now. Oh yeah, I now remember. It's somewhere in that other drive. There it is. Keeping it on my hard drive and import. I will pause the video to let this finish. It really doesn't take 19 seconds. It thinks 19 seconds at first and then takes a little longer. Okay, now that we've finished the import of that basic Windows 10 OVA file, I'm going to change a few things on it. In its settings, we're going to give it a better name. We'll call that cis338. That's internal. And because he's internal, his network is going to be not NAT, but host-only adapter. And in my case, I only have one host-only adapter. Check to make sure. If you have a couple host-only adapters, I think with Windows there is one already. If you define a second one, make sure to use that one. And remember, in your file, on the Mac that crashes when I visit the wrong place. In the Mac, on the host network manager, it only shows the one. Under Windows, you will have one already there, I believe. But make sure to go into your host network manager and make sure, again, your Dhcp server is not enabled, because we want our pfSense to act as the firewall. Okay. Now he's ready to power up, I believe. Let's just check his settings. Take one more check here in the system. 2 gig. Windows 10 is starting to get a little slow with only running 2 gig. But so if you notice a slowdown and you have enough memory total in your system, I'd bump that up. I'm going to go with the 2 just to see how well it does. I've had decent performance. Okay, now since he's going to need to get to the internet, I'm going to unpause the firewall. And now power him up. First time he's powered up, he'll take a while in his startup. So I will pause the video while that goes. He started up. Let's see if we can get the login going here. He's acting a little slow. There we go. Now this is the first time logging in on a newly imported appliance. It does take a little time doing this. I will pause here as well. Okay, we've logged in. Gave it time to set up. I'm just seeing a little issue here. Let's just bring up command prompt and see if we can figure out what's happening with our IP address. There we go. Be patient with this first setup. Still cranking around in the background, updating things. I am running on a newer version of VirtualBox, and so he does give me this warning. I'll eventually update the guest editions. Now let's get our command prompt. There we go. Acting a little slow here. Typing slowly away from the... There we go. Now he's starting to behave. There we go. Now let's do ipconfig. Looks like Dhcp is not working for him. Well, let's connect to our pfSense over our browser window. Remember, from our main system, we have access to that from our host system. And I will connect him. I believe I'm here. Let's just see what we have going on here. Let's look at our system setup. There's the local LAN. Let's just check to see if we have this actually running. So let's check our interfaces, LAN. It's running a bit slow. Looks to me like my firewall is having a problem. Let's check his console while we're waiting for that page here. On the VirtualBox, just double click on. Oh, I turned off. I want to pause that one. And I unpause the firewall. I unpaused the wrong one. Now things should be working a little better. There we go. Now, since that was the problem, I'm going to go back to my Windows system and I'll do an ipconfig. Oh, it looks like he already got assigned. Let's do ipconfig again. There we go. Now we got an address. Except, looks like he's getting different pool than I had thought I had given him, 50 to 99. That will work, but I better check my DHCP server settings here on the pfSense box. Let's go to not VPN services, DHCP server, and see what the pool was set up for. DHCP is enabled on LAN. Oh, look at that pool. I didn't mean it to be that. I wanted that to be 50 to 99. It's not going to break it if you use that, but let's just go to do a release and renew back on our Windows system and see what we get. ipconfig. Release. ipconfig renew. And we should get a 50 address assigned. And I see the warning light go off, and there we go. So now I can tell the DHCP server is working. If you see those other errors, what I often will do is I'll go to my networking sharing center. If I don't need those other interfaces because they were for other settings, I will often come in here and just disable those so I don't get complaints about them. Yeah, those are the Fortinet virtual appliances. I'm happy to leave them disconnected right now, but if you get trouble from messages, you can always disable those unused virtual connections and then not have the system spending time wondering what's happening. I'm going to go timing out listening for something there. like you saw when that IP config renew is happening. Okay, so that system is running now. Now we want to allow pings into this system and remote desktop and set up a Windows share. I found out with just by trying all this that by default remote desktop actually works immediately. I can right click properties of my PC, remote settings, enable remote desktop to this computer, and click OK. And I can immediately, with that enabled, I can go over to my other system now, unpause the external Windows system, go to his interface, don't need to talk to that server right now, and start remote desktop from the external system. Remote enter, and now put in the address of that LAN. This is our first evidence, besides the pinging of the LAN side of the firewall, that we can get to another system in that network. And so once remote desktop comes up, we will put in the address 192.168.56.50. And if you get a prompt for a login, you know you are talking to the remote desktop server. I did hit enter, so it should be attempting to connect. And if this is not working, then we have a problem in our firewall. Remember, when you unpause a system, it does have to think a little bit before it's back online. And I'm expecting to see a prompt here in a second for a user and a login, or a password. There we go. When you see this window, you know you're talking to it. Now I put in my account club and my password, and I click OK. The other, I can always click Don't Ask Me Again and Yes Connect. When you get this, you know you have OpenVPN working. But you'd like to be able to ping into the system as well. I'm going to go ahead and do the rest of the changes through this remote desktop into that remote system. After much frustration, trying to figure out what I had done wrong, I thought I had verified this firewall was not the problem. I have found out that it is the firewall that needs a few extra tweaks. On the remote system, we need to go to our firewall advanced settings. We want to enable ICMP, but there's one more little detail under ICMP settings. Waiting for the advanced settings to come up. In my inbound rules, we're going to go down to File and Printer, Sharing, Echo Request. And the echo request that matters is the private network. So let's right click, Enable Rule, and you'd think, oh, this would fix it. And no, that doesn't fix it. What you also need to do is in the properties of that rule, not only does it need to be allowed, but the Scope tab needs to add the IP address of that tunnel network. Without this, the pings just will not work. So 10.0.8.0/24 is the IP address of that tunnel network. Remember when we set up the OpenVPN? That was our tunnel network. If you decide to use a different tunnel network, that needs to go here. And now I click OK. And now let's go back to this system, and now let's ping the PC on the remote LAN. There we have a successful ping. And just for fun, I can do a tracer out. And it will show me the 2 steps to get to it. It goes through the tunnel network and then responds from the tunnel network, opposite side of the tunnel network. Without that scope on the client, on the remote client, the ping fails and you spend a lot of time figuring out what was going on. Another thing to do if you want to do Windows file sharing, go Windows File and Printer Sharing SMB. That's the file sharing. Again, the private setting for SMB in, we enable that rule, and also properties, scope, add that tunnel network. 24-bit private. Now, to actually test that it works, we need to create a share. Now I'm going to close this for now. I'm done with that. Done with that. And let's go over to my C drive. I like to put it in my public user documents. I'm going to make a folder. I'm going to call it shared. I like to capitalize my file name, my folder names. Right-click properties on that. I like to go through the details. I like to do advanced sharing. Oh, sorry, sharing. Advanced sharing. Share this folder. I'll go with the default name. Remember, if you put a $sign in the name, it will be an invisible share. And I need to make sure that if I want this to be shared with everyone public, make everyone be able to read and write to it. And also, remember, there's sharing settings and there's security settings. I'm going to add a everyone user to the security settings and give everyone full permission. This now will allow sharing. And remember, I did set the scope to be that tunnel network. So the share should be working. Let us now go back to our remote system, bring up the File Explorer, and now we're going to map the network drive to that share. So right-click, Map Network Drive, put in 2 backslashes, 192.168.56.50, and the share name is called shared. Windows is not case sensitive. And I'm going to finish. Now let's create a folder there just to prove I was there. I don't know why that takes so long to respond. And we'll call it Manning was here. Created the folder on the remote share. I am VPN tunneling into that network. To prove that it's working, I can go to that system, into my shared, and I see the folder that I created. So now we have successfully demonstrated that we have OpenVPN working. I have 3 systems running. The pfSense firewall, the external PC, could be anywhere on the internet, has that OpenVPN software installed, and the configuration to connect to this specific server at his specific IP address. The internal machine is just an example machine running at the local office. Remote system VPN to this. Remember, there were the special settings I had to apply to actually allow it through. On each local system, it has to recognize that tunnel network. Next thing we'll be doing is configuring some security IDPS like Snort. But for now, we have the firewall working and OpenVPN successfully demonstrated. Back to our diagram. Let's end with our diagram. There we go.